a normal Polynesian. Adam's cool and he's hip, taking you on a trip. The paranormal Polynesian.
Oh, no, where you're right.
This movie or fun, or a tale he has fun. The paranormal Polynesian.
Hello and welcome to
Me.
Adam, the mini-series brought to you
It's a 6-part miniseries by Stephen King, because that's who would write it.
but narrated by David Attenborough. It's a collaboration.
Is that like David Archuleta?
Oh, David Attenborough.
Is he British?
Very.
I don't know him.
Okay.
Am I supposed to know him?
Don't even know. He's done all of the Planet Earth series, all of the National Geographic.
Well, like when they're
the
eating,
narrator.
when the thing's eating a thing,
Mhm.
and he's like,
That's his voice.
okay.
Also, fun fact, his brother is the guy who opens the park at Jurassic Park. That's his brother. The old man.
The one that has Barney's hat that he wears when he mows the lawn?
Mm-hmm.
That's his brother?
That's his brother.
Weird.
I know. The dinosaur.
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
Welcome to our podcast.
Hello, welcome. It's been a week, you guys.
It's been a week.
Today we thought we would talk about ghosts or a ghost of the
A ghost.
White House.
White House.
You know, it was an election last night, so
election
we're keeping
year.
it election themed because that's all we want.
Mhm.
It's more of that election.
Keeping that spirit alive. Yeah.
Well, before we start the podcast, I just have to show you guys this. Okay.
I'm excited. I
So
haven't
my
seen this.
friends from Canada, AJ and Sarah, you know, they're friends of the channel. They have the website. It's parasordium.com. It's the thing that we're a part of. It's a streaming service for paranormal things.
Mm-hmm.
Go check them out, parasordium.com. But anyway, Sarah loves to is this cross stitch? Or
Yes.
is this crocheting?
Cross stitch.
So, a year or two ago, Sarah... I lost my jackalope. What is happening? Get this shit off. Okay. So, back in the day, apparently I said this once on one of my episodes here on the channel, and so she cross-stitched this. So sweet, right? So she sent me another one. Apparently I've said this on an episode. It says, "You are not excused, girl." It does sound like something that would come out of my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Love this. I don't know where I'm going to put this.
I want to know what episode it's from.
Yeah,
Anybody
please
knows?
comment below, Sarah, AJ. But this is the best, okay? This is
I'm
my
excited.
favorite. So, 2 years ago, we went to New Orleans, and if you remember that episode, we were in the French Quarter, and this, woman kept riding by us on a bicycle, and she had a chicken on her head. Did you see this?
I haven't seen this one.
And, I remember in the episode, I'm just like, where are we? Maybe we'll insert it right here. The Andrew Jackson Hotel. That one's haunted. That woman had a chicken on her head. Where the f*** am I? Okay. 3, 2, 1. Oh, look at she painted it.
And that's just how it was?
Yes, exactly. She had a chicken on her head. And this is the hotel that's also a hotel that's famous. Look at how cute is that? Right?
A chicken.
I love it. Thank you so
That's
much, Sarah and AJ.
fun.
This was my birthday present, but I'm supposed to share it with Barney. He thought it was hilarious. So yes, I just wanted to
So
show that.
cute.
You know, and if y'all want to send me presents, we can
Is
arrange
she
that.
on a tricycle?
No. Maybe? What?
I think it's a tricycle.
I swear that in real life, she was on a red bike. But, I mean, I love it.
The spirit
It
is there
doesn't matter.
regardless.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So sweet.
I want a tricycle, adult tricycle. That's
probably.
That's my level of aptitude there, so I wouldn't die. And then always here for chickens. Mine might be like a fried chicken on my head.
I wasn't recording the audio this whole time. That's okay, you guys listen.
That's fine, because they don't need this.
No, we're going to go to the real audio now when we start the podcast. But again, we've decided to film the podcast live. We're not going to stop. So it's probably going to be horrid on my end. But we're going to... Let's start this podcast.
Let's do it.
Ghosts of... Anyway, I hope everyone's having a good week.
Thanks for joining us.
I want you to know that no matter what happens with this election, that we love everyone. And we hope that you love one another too.
Yes,
It's
please.
good to be kind and nice to each other through these times.
These times of trouble.
Stop. Okay, we need sound. I'm like talking into a mic that's not on. Okay. You are not excused, girl.
Hello and welcome, my friends. My name is Faye, and this is where I sit down with my friend Adam to talk about, well, spooky stuff. So let me ask you, do you believe in ghosts, hauntings, paranormal shenanigans? I don't, but I love hearing about all of it, and honestly, I would love to be wrong. My friend Adam, he does, and he has a lifetime of experiences to back it up. So buckle up, because today we're talking about...
The ghost of President Abraham Lincoln.
I don't know what to say now.
Hello, Adam here with To Believe or Not to Believe, that is the podcast. I'm joined by Faye.
And a ghost.
And a ghost.
Yes.
It was election night last night, so this week's theme is ghosts of the White House, right?
We are talking about Abraham Lincoln's ghost. Is this
Just Abraham Lincoln?
Just Abraham. Just good old honest Abe. We've had a lot going on. We did just have an election here in the good US of A.
Yes.
That was hard to say.
It was.
And so I thought that this would be great. Let's talk about some presidents of days gone by.
Yeah.
And Abraham Lincoln is a ghost that is famous. Have you heard in the past about Abraham Lincoln's ghost? Is this a story that you are aware of?
I have. I remember hearing about Abraham Lincoln. I mean, the specific story.
Just, did you realize that he was like out and about still haunting people? Is that something that you were aware of? I had personally never heard.
Yeah, I've heard the stories of Abraham Lincoln's ghost.
Okay.
Yes.
I had not, so I thought that it would be really fun to go over this, and I have a few specific questions for you regarding maybe the type of apparition that this might be, or what you know as far as logistics with ghosts like this.
Okay.
So, before we get into that, though, let's just talk a little bit about good old Abraham Lincoln.
Please, let's do.
So, Honest Abe was born February 12th, 1809, and he was born in a tiny, log cabin in Illinois.
Didn't he chop a cherry tree down?
That was George Washington.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
I lied. He was born in Kentucky. Born in Kentucky, he ended up serving in Illinois. That was where he lived when he was an adult. So he was a very, very smart kid. His family did a lot of farming, and that wasn't really his speed. He helped out with all of those things, but mainly he was self-educated and wanted to become a lawyer, which he did go on to become.
He put himself in school because he was like, I'm going to get an education.
Yep, it was important to
Mr.
him.
Abe.
He was a smart kid. So he also was incredibly, a physical specimen of a man. He grew to be 6'4".
He was a tall man, I know
Very
that.
tall. He was very strong. They have a whole, like...
Yeah, I heard he had some muscles.
And, like, a wrestling thing that he did.
He wrestled people?
He wrestled, apparently, and won.
Okay.
So, you know, Abraham Lincoln. He became president of the United States and did so much to help with the beginning of abolishing slavery.
Yes.
And he expanded the power of the federal government and modernized the U.S. economy. So lots of important things. Mainly, this took place at the end of the American Civil War, back in the mid-1800s. So he was a pretty awesome guy. He had a lot of people that supported him. He was able to become the president of the United States. That's where we can kind of... He was after Andrew Johnson, 14th president of the United States. So...
Can I put a story in here about
Yes.
Abraham Lincoln? It's not so much about Abraham Lincoln as it's about... So when I was in high school, I had a driver's ed range.
He's the 16th president. I said 14th. Sorry. Driver's ed range.
That's okay. They've forgiven you.
Thank you.
But there was a driver's ed range for my high school out in this little town of Magna, Utah. And we would drive there every day. Anyway, one day they said the driver's ed range, is that what it's called? Am I saying it wrong? I don't know. They said it's closed. Yeah. And I'm like, why is it closed? And they said, because Hollywood's coming to town. We're turning it into the facade of the Ford Theater where Abraham Lincoln was shot, and they're filming a Touched by an Angel episode. Do you remember that episode?
Touched by an Angel?
Yes, I used to stalk them.
Show.
I loved that show. They filmed so much of that show in Magna.
Are you serious?
Like the first and last episodes are on my main street that I walked every day to school. And yes, when I found out Della Reese was going to be there in a bonnet, girl, I was like, so this is what I did. I came up, I put on glasses, because the glasses make you look smarter. And I remember saying, hello, I'm here to do a write-up in our school newspaper about Touched by an Angel, because I was obsessed at this point. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't get to...
It was a good show.
It was a good show.
I love that show.
I never got to interview Della Reese, but they did let me stand around the sides and watch. And so, like, they completely built the whole facade of the Ford Theater. And they had, like, horses and carriages. It was legit, y'all.
Wow.
And so that's my connection to Abraham Lincoln.
It's a good connection.
Yeah.
I love it.
So now we can continue.
Enter the Ford Theater.
Yes.
It was a dark day. For those of you who might not know, our 16th president here in the United States of America was assassinated at the Ford Theater. He was shot by a man named John Wilkes Booth.
Yes.
And was killed there sitting next to his wife in the theater. And
there's so many conspiracies just with that whole situation that could be a whole episode.
So he became president of the United States. He was married to a lovely lady named Mary Todd Lincoln, and they ended up having, I believe, 4 children. I think only one of them lived to adulthood.
They had a lot of them pass away.
Mm-hmm. Which was very normal for the time.
Yes.
Like it's a hard thing that they had to go through. So Abraham Lincoln, I just spaced his name for a second. He was killed as the president, assassinated. Now, there are a couple interesting things about him from before he became president. He had some losses early in life. He fell madly in love with a young girl, and they were planning to get married, but then she ended up dying of typhoid fever.
Yeah.
And he was absolutely devastated and heartbroken over that. And a lot of people said that he just kind of had an interesting... I don't know that depression is the right word that I would
emo.
use. He just had big feelings in this.
He was like an emo.
He went through a lot. He was a sensitive guy.
Like if there was Hot Topic back then, he would be shopping at it.
Probably.
As a young guy.
Yeah, maybe.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he felt things very strongly, but he was not what I would call a spiritualist, which spiritualism was really big at the time. He was not into his wife. Was very into the seances and into spirits and like
that was very normal at around that
very in vogue.
time frame. What year did he die again? It was like
1865.
okay. Yeah, that's about when that craze started, and then it just kept getting bigger and bigger to the turn of the century. And then you have people like Sarah Winchester.
Yeah.
It was a big thing. People thought that they could just talk to their loved ones.
Yep.
You know?
So there was a lot of that going on. It was kind of sensationalized, but it was very normal. It was a thing everybody was kind of doing, and his wife was very into that. He was not, but he felt things very deeply, and he had some interesting experiences even before like going into office and different things like that I thought were interesting. We talked about this a tiny bit, and you remembered one of them.
Yeah, I remember that he foresaw his death in a dream. I think he had multiple dreams.
He had multiple dreams where he saw himself dying.
Saw himself dying. He knew that he saw himself lying in state, right? In the White House. And I think that he mentioned it to his wife, right? And
they have it written down. He wrote it somewhere, had told a few different people about it. Something that I thought was really interesting is that when this happened, he said that he saw a body laid out and there were a bunch of guards around it, but he didn't know who it was. And so he went up really concerned and was like, who's died at the White House? And one of the guards says it's the president. And then he looked down and saw that it was him.
That's creepy.
Crazy. So he had some of these experiences, but he was what he would have considered himself like a skeptic. So he didn't necessarily buy into these kinds of things very heavily, but he did have some interesting experiences himself and didn't quite know what they meant. Another thing that happened that I thought was super creepy was that one day, and this was when he was already president for his first term, he looked at himself in the mirror and he could see two of himself. So he's looking in the mirror and he can see two of himself, and one of them was a very healthy, vibrant him, and the other, he was dead.
Yes.
In the mirror.
I think that's in one of these books over there. Does it say anything? Ghosts of Abraham Lincoln?
Las Vegas, understanding cemetery symbols. Stephen King, the unofficial. No.
Okay, that's fine.
Dolly Parton. Do you think it's in there?
Yes. I just remember when I was in high school, I read a book and there that story was in there and there was like a drawing of it. It was super creepy.
Yeah. So something I found fascinating was that his wife was in the room with him at the time. So he actually called her over. It was like, hey, hon, can you come on? Look at this really quick. She came over, saw nothing but his normal reflection, but he in real time was telling her what he was seeing. And she was very into spiritualism and very into seeing the future and being able to commune with spirits. And she made like a prediction kind of a thing where she said that she felt like it was foreshadowing his first term as president, and then what would happen in his second. And she actually said that.
Creepy.
I like, so creepy, but also hate that.
Yeah. This was before TikTok, so I think people had more, they were a little more grounded and were a little more able to connect with the other side.
Yeah.
Do you think she was like, while you're over there, can you say hi to our son?
Send William back.
Yeah. No.
Sad.
Sad.
So sad.
Sorry.
No, but that is something that she was very, I moved the chair. I'm sorry.
So squeaky, this chair.
Something that she was very into, and so that had happened. Now, he did become president and then eventually was murdered at the Ford Theater and died. Now, that is not where his story ends. Nay. He has been a busy boy since dying. My main question for you, do you have any experiences or do you know of any spirit being able to be in multiple locations, like seen in many locations? Is that something that you've ever experienced or known?
I'm trying to think back. I'm sure it can happen.
I was going to ask, what are your feelings on that? Just what do you think?
I mean, I think it could I swear I've heard stories about some of the ghosts on the Queen Mary and how people have seen them somewhere else. Where was this? I can't think of it off the top of my head. I know it's been reported in the past by other people.
So not just different places on the boat, but actually physically,
Yes.
like different
Like somewhere
locales
across
completely?
the pond in England.
Oh, wow.
But then also on the ship. I think one of the guys that fell down the stairs and died, like his family saw him somewhere back home. Yeah, it's possible. I mean, I am the expert, so.
Yeah. Well, I was
say
just
yes.
curious because there are different types that they talk about being like a residual whatever.
Yeah, and a residual haunting, all that means, if you don't know, is it's just energy replaying like a record, just playing over and over again. And so you get a lot of residual hauntings, and when they're residual, that's when you might see them in multiple places because their energy's just left an imprint. Like I'm sure people have seen. I know people. Oh, it was Abraham Lincoln that I heard about because people see him at Gettysburg.
Okay.
They see him there in the cemetery where he delivered his big speech at the end. Was it at the end of the Civil War or was it during the middle? You guys, this is why I failed history in high school, and I became a ghost hunter so that I could make it fun. But no, I remember when I was in Gettysburg, people mentioned Abraham Lincoln being seen in different places there. So that's. Right there, that's multiple places, plus the White House. So he is a busy boy.
Yeah. So not just that, too, because people they've reported to have seen him in the White House and in different rooms, so multiple rooms, which I feel like is pretty normal. You can't expect a guy to just chill in one room in his big old house. I get that. But then people have also said that they've seen him in his family home back in Illinois. And then also, and I thought this was crazy, after he died, he had 12 funerals, and they had a train that went to these 12 different towns. So it was like, everybody get on the train, come on, ride the train, to the funeral. Okay. And they would go and stop at the funeral, have the services, and then go to the little next town. And people say that around the dates of the time that he died, people will still see the funeral train come into some of these stations still. Thoughts there?
You mean like today they see the train?
I don't think it's recent. I think this was...
Was this a train that had like a big flower arrangement on the front of it, like a wreath of flowers?
It was like shrouded, like had a car, and it was...
Like the house in Beetlejuice.
Yeah. That was one of my favorite things of the whole movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Creepy.
Yeah. So people say that they have seen all of that. And I thought that was really interesting that it could potentially be lots of different places. And I was wondering, what is it? Obviously, he was beloved. He did a lot for the country. He was, by all accounts, a very strong and good, like honorable man of integrity. Like he did good things.
He just wanted to make a difference. And I think when you have someone that in the public eye that people love, like that, and when Martin Luther King died, you have all these people just making pilgrimages to see him one last time. And so I think that emotion, all that emotion with all those people, it leaves an imprint, and it might just play on repeat.
So you
forever.
think it might be the energy of all the people who come to see it, not necessarily his energy?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's the same reason people see, like in Gettysburg, just people crying in different houses where they had makeshift like morgues and where people would go identify the bodies. People still hear people crying at night in their homes. And I think there's just, when there's so much sadness or something like that, it just leaves an imprint.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I mean, I don't know. I don't know anything, really. I don't even know what day it is.
Wednesday.
It's Wednesday?
Wednesday. So, some of my favorite stories here. Hauntings in the White House with Abraham Lincoln specifically. So, one of the very first ones that was ever reported was First Lady Grace Coolidge saw him. She was in the Yellow Oval Room and had walked in and saw him standing in the window. She walked into the room and saw him standing in the window and completely freaked out and ran out.
In the Oval Office?
In the Yellow Oval Room, which I think is like the old Oval Office.
I see.
I don't know a ton about the White House.
I know, I've never been.
I've never been either.
I almost was going to go next month, but I'm not now.
Oh.
So I have nothing to report.
Yeah, so I think that it was like the old Oval Office, and I think there's like an updated one.
Gotcha.
So he was seen there, and he's been seen there a couple times. The place that he's most often seen, you want to take a guess?
If it were me, the cafeteria.
No, for
The
him.
gift shop.
The Lincoln Room.
Well, yeah, if you got your own room.
But here's the thing. So I thought this was interesting. At the time that he lived there, it was his offices. So it wasn't a bedroom. Now it's a guest bedroom. And so when people go in, they've seen him in there. But it's actually where he would have had his meetings in his offices. So I thought that was kind of cool. But yeah, so another one in 1942, Queen Wilhelmina of the Netherlands heard footsteps outside of her bedroom that she was staying in and a knock at her door. And when she went to answer it in the middle of the night, she saw freaking Abraham Lincoln standing there in a coat and his top hat. And she fainted.
She fainted.
She was in bed sleeping, heard footsteps and a knock, went to open it. Abe Lincoln standing there, and she fainted. And then when people came to like take care of her, she said that's what she saw.
He is like pretty good at materializing this ghost guy.
Well, and it's interesting that it's multiple places. So like he's there in front of the window, and that to me sounds residual. Like you could just go in, there's some kind of energy there. Sure. Going to a room and actually like making noise and getting someone's attention. Does that seem like a residual?
That seems more intelligent, an intelligent haunting to me. So I think he was very in touch with his spiritual side, even though he might have not wanted to be.
Yeah.
And I think when you're that kind of a person, you're a little bit better at, crossing the veil, saying hello.
So that happened. Then First Lady Lady Bird Johnson also saw him. Where is it? She saw him. She was one of the most open about it. She was telling people. My favorite one, I have two that kind of tie. British Prime Minister Winston Churchill was staying at the White House. Yes. And he used to go to bed super late at night. And one of his favorite things to do would be to take a hot bath with scotch and a cigar.
He loved his cigars.
Yes.
He had them on the Queen Mary too all the time. Yes.
So he was in the room he was staying in, butt naked in the bathtub, when all of the sudden he got out of the tub, walked into the other room naked to get ready for bed, and Abe Lincoln was standing leaning on the mantle. And this is my favorite. He said, Mr. Winston said that he himself said, "Good evening, Mr. President. You seem to have me at a disadvantage." And that Lincoln smiled and kind of like chuckled a little bit and then disappeared.
Hey, that's kind of cute.
Isn't that adorable?
Although I'm trying to picture like Winston Churchill naked, and it's giving me
Don't do that. Skip over that part.
He wasn't the cutest. Not that that's a problem.
Just imagine like chest up, the glass and the cigar. That's what I'm seeing.
I can picture him just being like, "Hey."
Oh, Mr. President.
That's cute.
But I thought that was funny, and I loved. By all accounts, Abraham Lincoln was a very kind man.
Yeah.
And very friendly, just a good, kind person. And I love that.
And I think he was bullied a lot when he was younger because of his looks. And he always was insecure. I know he was always insecure with how he looked. So he was a tender little soul.
Yeah.
But he was an
Just a sweet
imposing
kid.
man, you know.
Yeah.
And so he, I want to see Abraham Lincoln.
I think it's just so
Especially
fun.
if he smiles and just disappears. He's like,
It's just like, hey,
silly naked man.
fun little jokes. The Roosevelts had a dog named Rex who used to bark at things that weren't there in the room and would never go into the Lincoln room. Would just like stand there and bark at the room when no one was in it. And then would do it sometimes in other places. And once they said that the dog, its name was Rex, and he was barking like up at the ceiling. And they would always joke like, well, it's President Lincoln's doing something. Okay, now
Silly guy.
this is my other favorite one. Eleanor Roosevelt, who I have a soft spot for anyway.
Yes.
She said that she never saw Lincoln's ghost, but she used to do her reading and studying in the Lincoln room sometimes, was where she would go and do some of her stuff. And she would be reading and writing and would feel like he was standing over her shoulder reading like what she was doing.
He's like,
And in a cute way. She always said she felt like he was a very intelligent man. He really cared about studying and about learning, and that his presence was there and she would feel him sometimes.
That's fun.
Yeah, I thought that was cute because I like to think that if I was a ghost, I'd be reading books over someone's shoulder for the rest of my existence.
Yeah, but if you were the president and you died, wouldn't you just be tired of being the president?
Oh,
Can't
I
you
would
just go do
not.
something else?
I would not.
He's still working.
I hope.
Someone pay this man overtime.
But if I have to, I would like to be reading what Eleanor Roosevelt is reading and or writing.
Yes.
That's where I'd want to be.
She was a very interesting woman.
Yeah.
Very intriguing.
Very, very much. Yeah, but so then there have been lots of other people. Something which I also want your opinion on. Do you feel like the fact that these politicians and more high-profile people were willing to talk about this gives more credence to its validity? I can't talk.
Yeah.
To its validity than normal? Or do you feel like that's just... No.
I think that when people are... I think that we make our reality a little more than we think we do around us. And I think if you give that weight, then you're more likely to have experiences, which is a good thing or a bad thing. Depends on what you think is going on.
Yeah. Like the skeleton key.
The Skeleton Key?
I love that movie so
That
much.
movie is scary.
And it's all the like, it can't hurt you if you don't believe in it.
And she's like, I don't believe.
But
And
she
she's pouring the salt.
believes.
She pours the salt around her.
And that's how they get her.
And she's like, you little fool. You've stuck yourself in that salt circle or whatever. Yeah, that's a good movie.
Oh, that was a good one.
It made me feel icky, though, when I watched it.
Really? I just loved
I don't like that.
I loved it so much.
Oh,
My grandma said your grandma gonna set your flag on fire.
I don't know what that is.
They play that song in it,
you.
and I've always really enjoyed that song.
Wow.
But yeah, so it's the kind of thought process behind if you believe in something and put
Validity.
if you validate
I feel
if
validated.
you validate the ghosts parking,
Can you
they're gonna
validate
keep
my parking?
gonna keep coming
Oh
back,
my gosh.
right?
Yeah, no, I think so.
I've often wondered. You've said this to me before because I have wanted you to take me to Skinwalker Ranch.
Yes.
And the first time I ever brought it up, you were like, over my dead body, I will never do this. And I was like, come on, please. And you said, absolutely not. I will never take you there. Specifically me. And you said it kind of like, I would never do that to you, little girl. And
Because you'd be making pterodactyls appear out of nowhere and try and kill us.
Well, no, but
She's
then...
like, I do believe.
But then, a little while later, you were like, well, maybe actually you'd be totally fine. Like, I'd be over here having this crazy experience and
you
you
don't
wouldn't
believe in
even notice.
anything?
Because I'd just kind of be like, oh, you know, just not even... Just 'cause
I'd
the
rather go in a
skeptic
bigger
me.
group. It's never good to just go with 2 people because then you never know what you just saw. It's always good to have multiple people with you.
What's a good number, do you feel like?
7.
7?
7.
7 people.
Must be an odd
Comment
number.
below to be one of the 7
How many people do you
who
need
come,
to go to Skinwalker Ranch?
To be one of the 7 people who come with us to Skinwalker Ranch on December.
What?
Just kidding. I don't know.
No.
But I really
I've told you
want
I don't go to Skinwalker Ranch anymore unless there's someone trying to give me money, like that one show.
like that one show.
It was funny because I remember it was not even like a week before they called for me to go out and just record a little talking head for this television show. And I was like, you couldn't pay me. And then literally they did. And I was like, I can go there for that.
Okay, let's do it.
Sign me up. I'm a
I also
sellout.
remember being like, you were like, no, never. I will never go back there. And then just a couple weeks later, you're like, oh, and I'm going back for this person. And I
Oh, no.
was offended.
Well,
Very offended.
wait, did I go back since we've known each other?
I don't think you were supposed to, but I don't know that you did.
Oh, it was my friends from Australia that were coming. I was going to take them, and then we didn't make it because we only made it to that evil house. That was the house, you know, that house. What is it called? It was spooky.
Yeah.
I don't know. But we can try.
Yeah.
Again, I don't like going in the winter. It's too cold.
Yeah, I definitely want to go. I think I want to go. Maybe I will regret that. But I would like to. Back to Honest Abe here and what I was asking about the credibility thing. I go kind of 2 ways. One, I'm like, you're high profile politician. Do you really want to put something crazy out there that people could judge you on? And when I do that, when I think about that from today, like a person of today, like you can get canceled so quickly over something ridiculous. But
Apparently not for certain things, right?
can being the operative word there. You can be canceled for very small things.
Just depends on who you are.
Yes. And, but then during this time period, it was actually very popular to be having experiences like that, to be holding seances.
I feel like it's still that way now. Well, I think of the big boom of the ghost hunting shows around the early 2000s when I first started doing this with the Ghost Hunters TV show, because they're the ones that kind of were the pioneers for all the shows we have now. They're horrid. Just horrible. I loved the guys from Ghost Hunters, from TAPS. They were great. But I think now it's just so oversaturated that if the president or someone wanted to talk about a ghost they're seeing in the house, in their white, it's a house, it's white that they live in. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yes.
I don't think people would even care anymore.
Yeah.
I don't think people, I don't know. It's just anytime someone tells me like a ghost experience, they're like, you're gonna think I'm crazy, and I'm like, try me. And usually I'm like, that was a boring story. Don't ever tell me again.
Shut up.
I'm like, snap out of it. Just kidding. Please tell me your ghost stories. I love them. I'm not going to say that. But I'm just saying it's just so commonplace now, I feel like.
Yeah.
So that if someone was there's so many other things to get canceled for in the world.
True. But the list just goes on and on about people who've come forward to say like they specifically felt his presence or that they saw him. There was...
Didn't someone see him in the gift shop? I just keep thinking of the gift shop. I don't know. Maybe I just want to go. I love a good gift shop.
Yeah.
I love a good magnet.
I wonder where the gift shop would have been located, like, at the time that he lived in the White House. Like,
there was not a gift shop when he lived in the White House.
I mean, I know that it wasn't a gift shop, but was the square footage still there? Was it assigned to another... Like, what was it, is my question.
Now, you know the White House burned down once, right? I wonder...
Of course I knew that.
Can you Google when it burned down? I think it was before him, or maybe it was after him.
When?
I think it was after him. And if that's the case, then I can't answer that because the White House it's different than it was originally.
Oh, the White House was burned down on August 24th, 1814 by British troops during the War of 1812.
I should know these things. I'm terrible. Yeah, I know it burned down, and when it burned down, they rebuilt it, and it was much bigger the second time, I think.
The White House also experienced another fire in the West Wing in 1929 while Herbert Hoover was president.
I wonder if it burned down any of Lincoln's spaces.
Sad. And I wonder if people do still say that they see him today sometimes, but the majority of the things that I was able to find are all kind of in this time frame, like within 100 years or so of his death, which I found to be interesting.
I really believe people just saw ghosts with my...
Because they were expecting it? Is that what you...
Well, even with my dad's culture and like my Polynesian side, even today, if you go to the islands, people still talk about ghosts and people that have passed, like they're just right there and it's just a part of their lives. I really think that with the technology and all the nonsense we have going on in the world, we just don't pay attention, and I think that's why people just don't see it much anymore, because I think back in the early 1900s and the late 1800s, I'm like, what were they doing? They had to light a kerosene lamp. That was like their thing for the night, and then they're just hanging out. So bring on some ghosts. Let me commune.
I mean, think about that. I could have 17 ghosts in my bedroom and I'm looking at my phone and I wouldn't even notice.
Why do you think I used to drink so much in my 20s? So I could make them go away.
Sad.
Like, get out of here.
Leave me alone.
That's a little TMI for now, but we'll revisit it.
It makes me want to say a Jack, all work, no play quote. I don't know,
Jack Torrance.
Torrance. I couldn't remember the last name. So lots of other people have heard people knocking on the door of the Lincoln bedroom, which again would have been his office. And I love the idea of being in there trying to sleep, and Lincoln's like, "Hey, I gotta get some work done."
Yeah, I mean that's not a residual haunting if he's knocking on the door to come in. You know.
Could it be a residual haunting if that's something that like he did? Maybe it's just like certain times. It just is happening again.
I don't know. Did he do it? Yeah, maybe.
What would you knock to come into your own office? I don't know.
I don't think so. I like to think he's an intelligent haunting.
I kind of do too.
Because he was an intelligent
man. An intelligent man and a sensitive man. His wife held seances in the White House while he was alive. I'm sure she wouldn't have been living in the White House after his death.
Well, she...
Not for an extended...
I feel like I saw somewhere that she got really kind of...
Went off the deep end,
Went off the deep end with the seances after he died.
Yeah.
And I know that she struggled with a lot of mental illness, which is totally fine, you know. But I think she spiraled after.
Yeah.
And she really got into it. I don't know. I should have probably prepared before this episode, but she never tells me anything before. I'm just supposed to just sit here and just take it.
I have so many things I could say right now.
Just don't.
We're gonna move on. So
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Lots of people have seen lots of different things. Secretaries who have seen things. Some people say that they see him pulling on his boots. Like they'll walk into the room and see him pulling his boots on. Like he's sitting down on the bed, putting his shoes on. And they freak out. But yeah. Oh, what I was saying. So she held at least 2 seances in the White House while he was alive that he attended. So he did attend some. Apparently nothing really happened. They were trying to contact the spirit of one of their sons, Willie, who had died when he was 11. of typhoid fever.
That typhoid fever.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
Sad. Wait, Willie was the one who died after him. They had another son who died. They had multiple children who died, and so they would be trying to contact them.
I feel like one of his sons died right around when he died.
Yeah, it was just a little bit
maybe
before or after. Let's look.
I thought that they died right after, but I mean, he had at least 2 or 3 die.
5, and his son died in 62. So his son died just a few years before he did. So it would have been Willie that they were trying to contact.
Well, he got to contact him, so.
Well, interestingly, too, and this is kind of, I mean, it's not Abraham, but Abraham's son Willie has apparently been spoken to. President Lyndon B. Johnson's college-aged daughter, so she had come to visit, says that she saw Willie Lincoln and had a full-on conversation with him.
Maybe she had the gift from her mother.
Maybe.
Lady Bird.
Lady Bird.
Lady Bird Johnson, I don't know why she's so interesting to me. Is it Lady Bird Johnson that's interesting to me? Or am I thinking of Betty Ford? No, it's Lady Bird Johnson.
I love that it's Lyndon B. Johnson, Lady Bird Johnson, and then they named their daughter Linda.
Listen, Linda.
Bird Johnson.
That's too many L's.
I know. Lyndon, Lady, Linda.
It was Lady Bird that came in and she was like, I'm going to decorate this house in like lime green or something. Yeah. I remember that people met her with nonsense every step of the way. Like they did not want her having her.
Putting her stamp on the White House?
Yeah, and she loved a good drink. I know that.
Just look at that hair.
I know, she had the hair. It's very iconic.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I think I would have liked to meet her. She seemed fun. She seemed like a fun aunt.
Yeah.
But
I also liked that she was a very intelligent woman. Like, she definitely was not a
She was. Did you watch that
passenger.
TV show that was on? It was a miniseries that had, like, Michelle Obama, her, and the other one that you just talked about.
Did.
It was such a good show. You should watch it.
Okay.
It has Michelle Pfeiffer playing her. And she's a mess in that show. Oh, Lady Bird, love you.
But yeah, so Lincoln's ghost.
Yeah.
That's there is some more, but really.
Do you know of any other ghosts that haunt the White House that you can think of? I know.
James.
I mean,
the footman. That's
Abraham Lincoln is the one that you think of when you think of the ghosts.
I didn't know. I mean, it makes sense that it's haunted, but I had never actually heard.
I swear people talk about George Washington in there.
Well, George Washington was never in the White House.
I know he wasn't in the White House, but I swear I've read stories. It's fine. It's just fine. You've got quite the validity to be saying.
Wow.
What validity? Yeah, we're missing town.
Okay. We're gonna get off of this one.
I'm ready
so
for a
that
nap.
Adam and I can fight, and you'll find out who won next time on To Believe or Not to Believe.
And
that
the loser
is the
will be
podcast.
visiting you in the Lincoln bedroom. But I'll knock first because I'm polite. Well, this was a fun little romp.
Yeah.
Are we good on this episode, do you think? Or is there anything we want to add?
I think this is great. Abe Lincoln. Woo!
Yeah. What a cool guy. Yeah. You sure he didn't chop a cherry tree down anywhere?
Was that Abraham?
No.
Was it George Washington or Abraham? Okay, no, we have to.
I need to know about the cherry tree. I thought it was Abraham Lincoln.
I think you're right. Now that I'm Abraham and the cherry tree.
Or did he build a log cabin?
Abraham Lincoln and George Washington are both associated with cherry trees. But the story of Washington and the cherry tree is a myth.
Oh.
The story of Washington chopping down his father's cherry tree with a hatchet and being rewarded for his honesty is a myth.
Honest Abe.
Yeah, but that was the Washington story. So
Really?
wait, what's the Lincoln one? Lincoln chopped down a cherry tree.
Wait, the whole story is that he chopped a cherry tree down and told his dad that he did it, so he's honest?
He was going to be in trouble, so he was playing around with a hatchet, chopped down a baby
That
cherry
George
tree,
Washington.
and then when his dad came out and was like, "Who the freak chopped down my cherry tree?" He was like, "I did it,
It
Father."
was Margaret. That's what I would have said. We don't have a Margaret.
Who the heck is Margaret?
Just, it's Margaret. That's all you need to know.
Both
Okay.
Says it's not true. But what is the Abraham Lincoln one, though?
I don't know why I think of cherry. I think of the cherry blossoms in the March months of Washington, D.C. when I think of Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, so now this is saying the cherry tree controversy.
There's a controversy.
There is some controversy over whether Washington or Lincoln chopped down the cherry tree. Some say it was Lincoln, while others say it was Washington, and some even say there wasn't a cherry tree. What? So dumb. So it was supposed to be
go.
George Washington, though, but I think people mix it up because of the Honest Abe,
Yeah,
and it was an honesty.
that's what I think.
With the
Okay.
tree.
Well, they can both have a cherry tree. It's fine.
Honesty cherry tree, could it be you and me? I don't know. what
Are you?
I'm
Is that a
doing.
song that you've made up again?
Yeah, we should end this.
But why did it sound like The Greatest Showman?
I don't know what you mean.
Please. I didn't sleep enough. I was up all night.
I have had the biggest headache, guys. It's just not stopping,
Yeah.
and I've taken so much medicine.
I need more. Yeah, we need to go. This episode's been real, it's been fun, but it hasn't been real fun. Has it?
You are rude. I put a lot of work into this, and
I can tell.
you know.
Just
Thank
kidding.
you for being here with us today. Like I said, maybe next week we'll have another episode if Adam is
Okay,
still
but listen.
alive.
First of all, we've got to end this like we end all of them. So I want to ask you, girl. You are not excused, girl. I need to ask you, okay, to believe or not to believe, this ghost business in the White House. What do you think?
I would love for Abraham Lincoln to still be chilling. There are parts of this that I can definitively say are just a load of.
You've been listening to Believe or Not to Believe, that is the podcast. The #1 podcast of the people of Bara, Bengal, the Himalayas' most remote village. We're also the #1 podcast for the people of the Village Inn, a restaurant here in Utah where people like to get crepes on Sundays. And pie. So if you're into those odds, I suggest highly that you follow this podcast, give it a 5-star rating, and be sure to share with your friends.